Iran, meanwhile, claims it has indicted 10 officials in connection with the downing of Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752. The passenger jet was shot down near Tehran in January of 2020. 55 Canadian citizens and 30 permanent residents were among those killed. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the charges aren't sufficient.
We are tremendously concerned about the lack of accountability that Iran continues to have on this issue. The lack of transparency, the lack of a full and total investigation means that Canada, along with our fellow countries in the International Contact Group, will continue to put pressure on Iran to deliver true accountability and justice.
Iran released its final report into the downing last month and blamed human error. Canada rejected the report, saying Iran provided no evidence and gave no detailed explanation of what went wrong. Andriy Shevchenko is the Ukrainian Ambassador to Canada. Hi, Ambassador. Good to have you on the program. As always, thank you for making the time.
Thanks for having me.
Iran says that it has indicted 10 individuals. Apparently, they're officials, but they're not releasing their names. Do you have any more information on who these individuals are?
No, we don't. And I can just say that we have no clarity on who those people are. And also, we do not know what exactly they are accused of. And we do not know much how thorough the investigation has been. So I would say that Iran has still a lot of work to do to prove that this investigation is transparent. And this does not change what we feel about this. We feel that there should be more transparency, and we're not going to compromise on transparency, on clarity, and on justice.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Ambassador, what you take away from the fact that this announcement was made but no details provided. Is this just further evidence that that transparency will not happen?
To me, it is. And I think this brings us even closer to very important strategic decisions on how we have to deal with this situation, including on a big decision whether we are going to take this case to the International Court. And obviously, our intention is to make sure that we coordinate well with Canada and with other involved countries. And we want to make sure that together we work to make sure that we know the truth and we get justice for the families.
Let me ask you a bit more about what you just said, because I think a lot of our viewers who have followed this case, and especially many of the family members, are interested to find out what that next step might look like and when it might happen. First of all, when you talk about working in a coordinated fashion, do you anticipate, if this matter does get put, or if the intention is to put it before the International Criminal Court, that will happen with Ukraine and Canada and maybe other countries working together? Like, do you think, would it not happen unilaterally?
I would expect that all the legal actions will be coordinated. And I think Canada and Ukraine are naturally in the position to lead this process. And again, we need to make sure that we speak in one voice. Again, there were two tracks of investigation. There was technical aviation investigation. And as you and your viewers know, we are not satisfied with the results of the technical investigation report by Iran. And now there is a criminal investigation, and so far there was no good cooperation between our investigators from Ukraine and the Iranian investigators.
And so when you say that perhaps what's happened today moves everyone a step closer to the pursuit of that next step, at what point will that next step be pursued? How will those countries that you mentioned, including yours, including this one, decide that now is the time for those next steps versus waiting longer?
I wouldn't speculate on that, Vashi, but I know what we must do together with Canada. We have to continue our exemplary coordination and cooperation on this. And we need to complete our homework. I think we still have things to do to improve cooperation between our law enforcement authorities. we need to make sure that we work efficiently, we speak with one voice, and that's what we are very determined to do together with our Canadian counterparts.
Can I ask you to expand on that? Because previously you've been on the program and you said that you hope to improve the channels of communication between Canada and Ukraine, especially where sharing of information and the criminal investigation is concerned. Do you feel that that has improved, or it still needs to be improved?
I think there are still things to be improved. And again, Ukraine, as of the moment, is the only country which has its own criminal investigation outside of Iran. And we would like to make sure that all the tools and all the legal assistance will be available to our investigators. It's a very professional team. It's exactly those people who dealt with the MH17 tragedy. It was them who cooperated with the Dutch investigators and with other international experts. And we want to make sure that they have all the tools.
Let me ask you bluntly then, is it your position or your feeling that Canada is holding back information?
No, not at all. I think we just want to make sure that when it comes to gathering of evidence, we'll find some good, efficient, and legal and convincing ways of exchange of information, if we want to make sure that this evidence is something that can stand in the court of law.
And I certainly understand the point you're making about all that stuff that still needs to happen. But to the people who have lost someone on this flight, who are, have appeared on this program multiple times, advocating for those next steps that you mentioned to be pursued sooner rather than later, what do you say to them?
I'll just say that we are not going to compromise on the quality of investigation and on justice. I just want all the families to know that we will do our best to cooperate between Ukraine, Canada, and other countries involved. And I have a chance to talk to the families quite often. And I think it's the case when the times does not heal the grief and the pain. And that is another very strong reason for us to be very committed to what we have been doing.
Before I let you go, Ambassador, just one question on a different subject, if you don't mind, because I know that the Prime Minister spoke to his counterpart in Ukraine, and the subject of NATO and Ukraine's potential membership in NATO came up. Apparently, what I'm reading from reports, and maybe you can confirm them, is that President Zelensky asked for the Prime Minister's support and for Canada's support in that bid for membership. Do you know if the Prime Minister was receptive to such a request?
We do know that Canada has been always very supportive of Ukraine's further integration into NATO, and that is bipartisan. And the main reason why President Zelensky and Prime Minister Trudeau spoke today was the major escalation that we're witnessing by the Russians. There are clear signs that they are getting ready for a major offensive against Ukraine. And that is another very strong reason for us why we have to think strategically and why we have to pay attention to this. In Ukraine, we already feel us as a de facto eastern flank of NATO. We know that we can create a major added value to the alliance, and we know that Canada, with its deployments on the Ukrainian soil, knows that quite well. We hope that Canada will help us to explain this to other partners in the alliance.
Okay, Ambassador, I'll leave it there. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Vashi.
That is Andriy Shevchenko. He's Ukraine's ambassador to Canada. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.